Projector. It is the 1st of July, believe it or not. It's show 213, and it's me and Gareth, as usual. Hello, Gareth. Halfway through the year?
It is, but it should be Gareth and I to be correct about your grammar.
You got me on that one last time as well, didn't you? Yeah, I do apologise for my shoddy educational standards.
Yeah, make it proper, like.
You all right?
I believe I am well. I am well.
I'm well too. So there's two of us that are well. Let's press on then, shall we? GarethMyles.com is where you'll find Gareth. Salmon.com is where you'll find me. Projectorroom.co.uk is our website. So you'll find all the rest of the stuff you'll need there. And the MeWe group is the MeWe group, of course. We've got no news. We've got not really any meaningful, wonderful contributions to feedback from the group this time. It's been a bit quiet.
Shocking. Where are they?
There's no flop of the fortnight either. So we're straight into Fandom Focus, which is my turn this time. And well, you did zombies last time, so I thought I'm going to do vampires this time, because I have. Over the more recent years, I've kind of got more into vampire stuff. And I think one of the things that got me into it more than anything was that whole Let the Right One In series. The Swedish original was really, really good. I so enjoyed that, which is, it's about this little girl who's a vampire, and she moves into this neighborhood with her dad, and or who we assume is her dad at the outset. And he has got the responsibility of finding her blood to drink because she doesn't eat, basically. And then she meets a little boy next door, and the story is kind of a romance between the two children, except that she's 400 years old or something, but she has the body of a child. And so Let the Right One In is really, really thoughtful. It's great. It's really well done, well shot. The two children actors are just brilliant. And then they remade it in 2010, 2 years later. And what's her name? Played the little girl, Chloe Grace Moretz. And she equally, I was trying to think earlier on today which one of these I prefer, and I think I do prefer the Swedish original because I just always prefer European cinema and TV and stuff. But I have to admit that the American remake of it was very, very faithful to that original, and I'm assuming to the book as well. And that all worked really, really well, and I liked it, even though it was different and American, but it worked really nicely. And then, you probably will remember, in 2022, because I was banging on about it at the time, they made this TV series of basically the same story. They padded it out over, I think, 10 episodes. So they developed other characters in amongst the lives of these two people. But essentially it was done really well as well. So I think those three things there are the three things that got me into appreciating vampire films. Then I saw this other one called Only Lovers Left Alive, which was a 2013 film, which I really liked. And that was kind of a really odd vampire film because it was a kind of art house thing with Tilda Swinton and Tom Hiddleston. And it was shot by Jim Jarmusch. Is that how you pronounce his name? Jarmusch. Yeah. That's the one. And he was the one that was the director of Patterson. And you know how much I love Patterson because I keep banging on about that as well. That's the really nice relationship film story, which involves Golshifty again. But yeah, I think that he did a very good job with Only Lovers Left Alive. It was a very different take, and it was turned into very much a stylized art house version of the whole thing. And then you put me on to inadvertently this film from Iran called A Girl Walks Home Alone at Night. That was a 2014 film, and that too was very, very stylized. It was black and white, apart from some shots of red in the appropriate places. And that, again, I don't know that I'd seen an Iranian film before then, but that was done really, really well. And it was very, very art house and very surreal in places. And that again, that was done exceptionally well. And then lastly, the kind of not so mainstream examples of vampire films, which I see that you're going to get to in a minute. You can do the mainstream bit, and I'll do the outliers. Was the humanist vampire seeking consenting suicidal person, which I reviewed, I don't know, 2 or 3 years ago now, and that was a really interesting French film, which relied on the central performance of a French actress who I'd never heard of, Sarah Monpetit, and she plays this girl called Sasha, who reminded me very much of the goth friend of Jesse in Breaking Bad. Kristen Ritter was playing that, and she holds the film together really here. And it's a different kind of story. Part of it is comic, but it's also very, very dark and very really dark in places. But essentially, it's just again a non-mainstream take on the whole vampire kind of thing. And I've just, a few years ago, I would have said that I wasn't really into vampire films. I shied away from them. One of the ones that I really liked at the outset was the one with Kirsten Dunst, Interview with a Vampire. And I remember years and years ago seeing that at the cinema, and I was transfixed with her performance and her face and her hair, and they'd made this little girl just such an interesting character. And of course we've subsequently followed Kirsten Dunst through into her adulthood and talked about her a lot. But so that's, I suppose that probably was where it started in the first place, to do with what's his name, Lestat, the central kind of character in the whole vampire thing in that respect. Anyway, those are my kind of not so mainstream, off the wall ones, left of centre, and I've really thoroughly enjoyed being a fan of the whole kind of vampire thing, but not the mainstream ones, which I think you're going to come to.
All right. Well, I as you were talking, I suddenly thought, well, I could actually add quite a bit to vampires, because I have seen a lot. I think they've really grown in popularity over the years, and I think more so now. They were very popular back in the day, and then they kind of eased off a bit with only sort of really select big things coming through. Obviously, there's like the likes of Bram Stoker's Dracula and all that, but I wanted to highlight a couple that sometimes get forgotten about in the whole talk of vampires. And the one that really springs to mind is actually just called Vampires, from 1998, directed by the master John Carpenter, with James Woods, Daniel Baldwin, Sherilyn Lee, Thomas Ian Griffiths. It's got a fantastically trashy cast led by James Goddamn Woods, and I whenever it came out, I didn't like it. It didn't it didn't get me the way I thought it was going to be. I thought it was going to be a sort of slam bam, cool as hell action movie, which I actually think it is. But I was looking for something completely different, and I've since been back and watched it a couple more times and thought, this really is pretty darn cool, and it's got a B movie cast that you don't see in an A movie. It's just a great film. It really is good fun. It's pretty appealing. James Woods is brilliantly foul-mouthed and gives a really cynical performance. And it's got a fantastic score by John Carpenter again. The dialogue can be really macho, and I don't think it's aged particularly well. I even think whenever it came out, it might be a wee bit past its prime. and the second half isn't as strong as the first half, but it's still a really cool, good, fun movie that can just entertain on a slightly damp evening where you don't want to go out. But back in, or have you seen it?
No, but I was just reflecting that that James Woods is his name keeps popping up on Family Guy, left, right, and centre. In fact, at one point they named the school after him, and I don't know him. I don't know that I've ever seen him in anything. So it was interesting that his name popped up, and I can see a picture of his face now.
Well, maybe we'll have to do a little bit of James Woods film in the future, so that you can
Okay.
become acquainted with him, because he is one of my favorite actors. He's kind of been cancelled by Hollywood because of his political views, but he still has a large body of work that is phenomenal. Think De Niro. That's the kind of actor that James Woods is.
So is that why he's found his way onto Family Guy, do you think? Because he's controversial and
yeah.
Right. Oh, okay.
He's also got a tremendous sense of humor. He tweeted me once, talking about cars. But yes, anyway, Vampires, great film, good fun. Nosferatu from 1922, plus the other films in the Nosferatu lineage, the ones with Klaus Kinski. There were two of them, and there was one recently as well, which I haven't actually got around to seeing. But I think this is one of the most marvelous films ever made. It is just, I think whenever the first time I got it, it was It was universal. Anyone could watch it. And it scared the living piss out of me when I was very young. I actually watched this and Salem's Lot quite close to each other, and I thought they were connected because the thing in them looked somewhat similar. But I would say this is one of the greatest horror films ever. And if memory serves, you're not a huge fan of it, Ted?
I watched it when when Nosferatu came out, whenever it was, a year or two ago, and so I went back and watched this on your say so, and yeah, it was okay, but I wasn't blown away with it particularly. It just feels obviously very dated, but I can see the kind of artistic stuff that leads people to say, this is a mark in the sand in terms of the genre. So I do get that. It's just that I'd much rather watch something more up to date.
Yeah. Well, on the back of that, there's a film that I very much want to see that I've just sort of come across quite recently. It was in one of those kind of 10 great films you should watch, or 10 good, spooky horror films or something like that. On YouTube, you get those collections of reviews.
Yeah.
And The Last Voyage of the Dementor is the story of the ship that Nosferatu, or Count Orlok, heads over to England, I think it's on, and what actually happens on the ship, and it tells that tale, and that's just really piqued my interest, and I'd like to get to see that. It doesn't get the most marvelous reviews or anything, but I think people say it's fairly sturdy, and it stays afloat.
Somebody in the group was talking about that when we were talking about vampires before. I think it was Troy Dale who was saying that was one of his favourite ones. Yeah.
Ah, okay. High praise then. Grand. One I just happened upon. I hadn't heard too much about, but I just thought I'd whack it on in the hope that it was something akin to Nosferatu, because it's from a relatively similar time period, is Vampire from 1932. This was directed by Carl Theodor Dreyer. And it's a really interesting German take on the vampire film, with a lot of dreamlike imagery and some fantastic cinematography. It's really eerie, and it's somewhat it's kind of hypnotic in a way, but it's one of those ones that it was very influential, and you'll notice quite a lot in it that you see in later horror movies. And I sat and watched it with my wife, I think it was a couple of years ago, and I wasn't blown away by it, but I was a wee bit bowled over. I really enjoyed it. It was something a bit different, and it did scratch that itch for Nosferatu, so it's worth checking that one out if you fancy.
Okay.
And
I don't know that one.
What they do in the shadows as well. That's good fun. It's good film, and then a TV series, a proper sort of vampire sitcom that's dark and gothic. It's worth checking out too if you like British sitcoms.
What They Do in the Shadows. Oh, is that the Tim Burton thing? No, that's I don't. I'm not sure that I know What They Do in the Shadows. What they did in the
Oh, maybe
shadows?
I've got the wrong title actually. What was
Um,
that called? You blather on, and I'll work it
okay.
out.
All right. Well, that's my fandom focus anyway. Vampires, and we've now done zombies and vampires. So no doubt we'll be doing monsters or something next. And it'll be your turn next time to take the lead with that. And yeah, I'll put the links in the show notes to my kind of a bit off the wall ones as well, and people can have a dig through and see if they fancy it. We found it, have we? No, we thought we found it.
Yeah,
What
we
we
have. Yeah.
do in the shadows.
Yeah.
What we do in the shadows. Let's just pause there a minute so we can just have a quick look at it when we get the link, and I can see if I know anything about it before we move on.
It's got Matt Berry, who
no.
you'll know from IT Crowd and things like that, and Natasha
Okay.
Dimitru from Staff Let's Flats.
Oh right, yeah. Well, I know that. So yeah, I know. I wasn't aware of that. I don't think so. Perhaps I'll try and dig back and have a look at it.
Yeah.
If you recommend it. Right, let's move on. Private screenings next. And we had a bit of a cock up last time, or I did, because I challenged us to watch In Cold Blood, the 1967 Truman Capote's film. And then you were enthusiastic about it too, and I went away, and then I started watching it, and then I realised, confirmed by Plex, that I'd already watched it. And as soon as I started rolling it, I said, oh yeah, of course, I watched this. So in the interim, you decided to say, why don't we have a look at In Cold Blood 1996 version with Sam Neill in it, which is incidentally available in full on YouTube for anyone that wants to see it.
Okay. I went and ripped the DVD for nothing.
But the whole thing is there to be seen, and so I'm not quite sure how we're going to do this. Whether we're going to score this private screening round on the 67 one at the outset, or the 96 one, or a mixture. What do you think?
I think just do the 96 one. That's fair because we didn't watch 67 for the show.
Okay. But all right, so fair enough. So my thoughts about the 1996 one was that they completely wasted the first hour of it. So it's a TV miniseries. It's 3 episodes, or it was originally. Wherever you were on YouTube, they've just molded it into one long 3-hour thing. But you can also get it in 2 hour-and-a-half ones, and I think maybe anyway, see what you can find. And it's based basically on the same story, but the trouble with this one was over the original 67 film is that they just seemed to waste the whole first hour, and it was all to do with religion mostly. It was all painting the picture of this kind of, the Waltons kind of territory of the southern states of America and how everyone goes to church all the time. And one of the interesting scenes was when Sam Neill was falling asleep in the church when the vicar was banging on about religion, which I thought was really funny. But anyway, so it did have, I thought, a very 90s kind of look, feel, production thing to it, and the acting as well was a bit kind of... but the more I got into it, once I got past that first hour, where there was just so much build-up to anything happening, to some degree, that's also true of the 1967 film, but not to the same degree. And they were trying really hard, clearly, to follow the whole noir thing, which in the original film is completely over the top noir, left, right, and centre. The use of lighting and shadows is just ridiculously over the top, and that's fine because it's created that style, and that's one of the things that made it really brilliant. But yeah, it just dragged out the first hour really. Once you got past that, once you got into the meat of the story and started to move towards the incident in the house, or at least the two characters heading towards the house, it started to kind of pick up. Um, Anthony Edwards and Eric Roberts were actually really good in the end. I thought at first they were a bit questionable compared to Robert Blake and Scott Wilson, was it, in the film.
Hmm.
And but as it went on, I thought the Dick and Perry characters were done really well in the end, and it was they even looked like, when they say that about the original film, that the characters they chose, the actors they chosen, looked spookily like the real people. And I think that was also true of the 1996 TV miniseries, personally. But I also couldn't quite work out if it was a true story or not. And I've subsequently now dug around a bit further, and I found out that it is a true story. But they seem to stage it as a work of fiction in the film, right? Truman Capote's book. But in the 1996 series, it's part of this kind of true crime series. So that got me really confused. But I do understand now that it is a true story and it did happen. You'll no doubt correct me if I've got that completely wrong. But yes, I liked it. I thought it was, once we got past the first hour, I thought it was done pretty well. It did suffer from being a TV production to some degree. Sam Neill was kind of showing most of them how to act. Yeah, he wasn't in it an awful lot. He didn't have many scenes, but when he was there, he was clearly the actor that was leading the charge, and he was doing really well with it. There's also this whole thing about this kind of homoerotic undertone going on. Again, I don't know what you know about this. Is all new to me. I'd forgotten I'd watched it, and I'd not read anything about it. But apparently that Truman Capote was a gay person in a time in the 50s, 60s when everyone had to hide the fact that they were gay. And much like Patricia Highsmith in her time when she was writing for her books, she had to find ways of expressing and telling the world how wrong that was to be prejudiced in those ways. And these people are finding ways of doing that. And if you watch the two characters, Dick and Perry, they are reflecting a kind of almost like a married couple, where Dick is kind of staged as the husband and Perry the kind of wife, and they kind of pick up those roles between them. He's even calling him honey and sugar and baby, and it's all kind of oddly staged in those respects as well. And that comes through, I think, in both of the original film and the TV miniseries. So I think that they're both very good. But if we're focusing on the TV miniseries, I just think it's not as good because it suffers from being a TV show, and presumably the amount of money and and people they had in the team to be able to do that, and it kind of drifts into drama and certainly religious crap all over the place, far too much, instead of doing what the film did and getting to the meat of it. So that was my thoughts. And if we're just scoring the TV show for our purposes here, then I think I would give it about a 10 or 11. Probably, yeah, I'll give it 11.
Fair enough. It's a fairly high score, I would say. Yeah. I love the original as well. It's been a few years since I've seen it, but I remember being kind of struck by it, and I understand why it's hailed as I'd say maybe a minor classic or a somewhat of a forgotten classic. It doesn't get as much air as so many other movies that have better followings, to be fair.
Mm-hmm.
So whenever this came along, and it's a 3-hour adaptation of the novel, and it's from, I haven't read the novel, but I can Google online and see that it is held as a faithful literary adaptation, and they take their time and they play out everything that's in the novel, so you're kind of getting everything you need from it. That added with the fact that the cast is exceptionally strong. You've got Anthony Edwards as well, and Eric Roberts and Kevin Tinge, Leo Rossi, Don Davis, Troy Evans, and who was the other guy who played the FBI? There with that was the 4 of them: Sam Neill and the 3 other FBI guys. Yeah, it was an absolutely brilliant cast, and obviously there's talent who are hoping to be in something like this because it's a real acting gig, and I think Eric Roberts did strikingly well in the lead role. He's not the kind of actor who today he's kind of laughable. If anything, he's made over 800 films, and 600 of them have been in the last couple of years. He would just appear in anything if you threw a quarter on the ground or a 50p. It's dreadful what's happened with him, but back in the day, he was really trying to branch out, and where he was making movies like The Best of the Best that he would come to after this. I think no, we made Best of the Best before this. Yeah, this was 90, wasn't it? 1990. Best of the Best. I think it was 80. Yeah, it was 88 if memory serves. Maybe I'm wrong, but he was making kind of action movies and things like that, and he was better known for those sorts of genre fares. So with him stretching out and having a go at something as big and bold as this, my hat is off to him. Anthony Edwards, I actually think he was the weakest of the 3 leads, but he still does a damn good job. But I absolutely adored it.
That was Dick.
I was. Yes.
Yeah.
I was totally involved in the plot, and it just felt like, they stretched out, and I wanted to spend more time with the characters, and I just got entirely involved in it. It was very well written. It had a lot going on between the characters and things. I can imagine some people being bored and not enjoying the sort of small town drama, but I am deeply fascinated by the small town drama that unfolds in the likes of, Montana and places like that, where there is sort of that deep religious background, and people don't have big screen TVs or flashy cars and things like that, and they get by, and people are nice to each other, and whenever not small crime, but a crime like this was to occur in their neighborhood, it's earth shattering. It's the same as as Godzilla attacking Japan. It's that kind of big thing that everyone will be talking about for years. I felt the pacing was very good as well. Whilst they were slow moving, the episodes did sort of zip by very quickly, because I was thinking, is there much longer in this episode? And I realized there was only 7 minutes left. I was like, oh, right, okay. I've watched an hour and 23 minutes so far, thinking I was only about 45 minutes in. And it's a real product of its time, because mid-1990s television productions, they were hit or miss. You sort of got the movie of the weeks and things like that. And I remember sitting up with my parents and getting into some of these sorts of things. And they'd take a classic novel like Peter Benchley's The Beast or something like that, and they do a 2-parter over 2 nights, or one a week or whatever. And families would be able to sit down and enjoy it, and kids thought they were watching something adult, and they learn something about it, or they see something about a different society or whatever as it goes forward, and that's what this was. And it was very targeted that way, that families could sit down and watch this. There wasn't anything violent, there wasn't anything horrible that happened in it, even though it is about a terrible crime that occurred. It still was very responsible in what it showed, and that doesn't happen anymore now. Whenever you sit down and try to watch something about a murder, you've got blood up the walls, and you've got slow motion flashbacks and things like that, and they try to get as much shock value in as possible. And it's so nice to step back from that and watch something like this that is just well made, even though it's a lot cheaper. It's still well made.
Neither of these, I noticed that neither of these productions did that. Neither of them showed you actually what was happening. They just showed the gun being pointed and the trigger being pulled. There was no gore anywhere in the whole film, or the TV series.
Yeah. I think there was one blood stain on the wall, and that right. was a shocking moment. That was the big shocking moment of the film. Compare that to something like Cannibal Holocaust, and you're like, wow, right, okay, flip. Yeah. I thoroughly enjoyed it, and it's I can't imagine this getting a nice big glossy release one day. It'll just be forgotten about, like so many of them, and it's because so many of them were actually a bit crap. So they kind of got a bad name in the end. But I think this was a good example of how well they could be executed, and they managed to pull in the talent on the basis of it being such a good production. So I would say 11 is good, but I would say it's a wee bit low. I'm going to push for 12 for this because I think it was a wee bit better than 11. Yeah.
Okay, that will give it 23 then, which puts it in the company of The Decline, Papillon 2017, The Cheap Detective, Griselle. I can't remember any of these. I remember How It Ends. That was on 23.
Okay.
And what else is on 23? Page 8. Oh, that was that Bill Nye thing, wasn't it? Page 8.
Spy thing.
Yeah, so that's about a quarter of the way down the leaderboard. So it has scored very well between us. Probably partly on the back of me having watched the film as well, though, to be honest, because I was kind of taken in by the whole thing. And did you conclude that it is a true story, or is it a novel?
I think it is. It's a novel by Truman Capote. I don't think it is actually a full true story, but I could be wrong entirely about it. I didn't fully go and look it up. But I did want to touch on the homoerotic values that you were talking about. And I did notice them as well, but I actually put it down to the way people used to be. The way people would interact with each other and talk to each other is forgotten because of gay panic and things that exist today, where you can't do anything for fear of being accused of being one way or another. Whereas back then there wasn't that kind of paranoia almost that people may be watching you that way. So you can talk like that. You can use words in different meanings, and where you can call someone sweetie, it might have been a not a joke, but a humorous touch. But yes, today it reads like that. But I wouldn't say that it was particularly that way inclined. But they were prisoners at one stage, so perhaps they.
Well, when you start exploring the background of it, though, with Truman Capote, and particularly in relation to what I said earlier about Patricia Highsmith, it was about the age when these people were writing. It was in the age when no one was allowed to express their sexuality if it wasn't heterosexual. And that's what seemed to be coming across while I was exploring it and looking into the background of it. So. I don't know. I just think what first triggered me to it was that Dick was calling Perry honey and sugar and baby, and that just seemed odd to me. My dad is about the same age as these characters would have been in the same era, and I couldn't for 1 minute imagine him using those terms with his friends. But then I suppose he's not in America, so
no, he's frightfully awfully in Britain and things like that. So we do not expose emotion at all.
Yeah. Okay. Well, fair enough. Anyway, I just thought it was quite an interesting aside on the whole project, particularly as we covered the Patricia Highsmith thing previously, which seemed to have a parallel to me.
Mm.
But maybe I'm wrong. Okay, that's that done then. Next show, your turn to choose.
Okay. Well, I was thinking that we could carry on the trend of small town deadly doings and go with a new film with Bob Odenkirk called Normal from
Ah,
2026. I haven't got
great.
around to this.
No, nor have I. So that would be really interesting because we've seen the trailer in coming soon, and we both kind of were thinking, yeah, that looks good. It
Yeah.
starts off with Bob Odenkirk, the softy kind of character like he is in Fargo, and then he suddenly changes. So yes, I'm up for that. Right. Okay.
Mhm.
Excellent. Right. Next up is theme treats, and it was my turn to pick something, and I picked hospitals. And so I nominate you to go first on this occasion and talk about what you came up with in relation to this theme.
Okay, well, it was kind of ironic that you picked this because just the day before was polishing my review of Article 99, which is a lightly humorous drama in the vein of MASH, slightly less funny than MASH, about some veterans in a hospital. And I have a full written review over on my blog, which you can go and read if you really fancy it. It's a film that I've known for years, and I've always liked, primarily because Ray Liotta starred in it, and that's why it came on my radar. And I grabbed it and had to watch it. It's got Kiefer Sutherland, John Mahoney, Kathy Baker, Leah Thompson, John C. McGinley in an early non-Scrubs role, but still hospital bound, Jeffrey Tambor, and it's just a really enjoyably game look at the veteran crisis in the American healthcare system, and I was really happy to watch it again because it is just so enjoyable to watch. It doesn't dig deep at all. It's entirely surface level. Everything that it tries to make a point about, it's smashing you over the head, going, "Isn't it ridiculous? This happens." You don't get any sort of any depth to this film at all. It is really just what you see is what you get, and they're not digging any deeper. It's all there laid out for you, so you could be upset about it, and there's no way that you're going to walk away going, "Well, that seems all right to me. That seems reasonable." It's just one of those films that didn't quite get there, and I think that's due to the handling, because it was directed by the director of Pretty in Pink and The Great Outdoors, whose name I forgot. Howard Deutsch.
Howard Deutsch, yeah.
Yeah, and he this is probably his most dramatic film of his career. He's well known for doing broad comedies and working with John Hughes. So this was him branching out, and it's particularly notable for that. Other hospital movies, the one that really strikes me is The Exorcist 3, because it has one of the greatest kills in any hospital movie, which is just so shocking and exciting. It's a terrific movie as well, and it's the one movie that I would use as an example to say, yeah, director's cuts aren't always for the best, because this it's quite famously known that it was delivered by William Peter Blatty to the studio without an exorcism in it, and they went, "Hang on a second, you're the writer of The Exorcist, and this is a horror film, and there's no exorcism in it." It was called Legion at the time, and they sent him away with a little bit more money and said, "Put an exorcism in it." And he was like, "Oh, what, really?" So he went away and shoehorned one in. I think it's actually better for it. Some people will possibly disagree, but the recent 4K and Blu-ray have have both versions on it now because they've managed to clean up the Legion version, and the Legion version isn't great. I much prefer the good old fashioned theatrical version with George C. Scott just spewing acting at you. You know, there's a famous meme where he's screeching, "It isn't in the files." It's bonkers to see him do that. It's so funny, but it's just George C. Scott. You're like, wow, what a guy. And this whole thing about the tasty fish, the carp that's in the bathtub, and it's one of the most amazing little monologues that I've seen in film. I love that film. Absolutely adore it. Have you seen The Exorcist 3?
No, I've only ever seen the first one, so it seems like I've got more homework lined up.
Yeah. Skip the second one, go straight to the third. You're not missing anything, right. And you'll adore it. It's so much fun. And I thought I'd throw it in as well because there's so much of it. Scrubs is a really decent little hospital comedy. It's got a very alternative point of view where they looked at all the sitcoms of the day and went, no, let's do something different. And it's funny. It has a lot of heart to it. You know, what was it, the Brendan Fraser episodes are particularly notable. The John Ritter one as well, I think, was because he passed away soon after it, which really tugged at the heartstrings. But you know, the characters they just gel together so well, and it is a show that came to an end beautifully, and then they got out the paddles and what do you call it? Defibrillated them back to life a couple of times, and I don't think either time has been anywhere near the magic of the first, I don't know, 5 or 6 seasons, however many there were. And it's worth checking out, you know, if you want to watch a good, reliably funny sitcom. Ted, you'll probably hate it, but you know,
because why?
I just imagine the character of JD. You'll probably want him dead, but then you'll get Dr. Cox, and you'll identify with him, and you'll enjoy him taking down JD every opportunity he gets. So perhaps you might enjoy it, but you'd have to give it a bit of time.
Yeah. Okay. How long are the episodes? Are they short?
They're like 20 minutes.
Right. Okay. Well, nobody can refuse to give that a go, can they?
I don't know. You might make it halfway through the first episode and go, "Oh, they cracked a joke, so I had to turn it off."
No. Okay. I'll add that to the list as well. I've got a growing list piling up here. But anyway, because I quite like to see Article 99 as well, after you were speaking about it. Anyway, so I'm going to go with, for my hospital stuff, let's lay aside the Carry On Doctor, Carry On Again Doctor, Carry On Matron, Carry On Nurse, which are just brilliant, but we've covered those before, and we have talked about Carry On loads of times. So I'm going to go with One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, which needs no introduction. Again, we've spoken about it before. It's all Jack Nicholson, based in the hospital in the set in the 1960s. It's a 1975 film, which is really, really intense and funny and dramatic and thrilling, and it's just one of those films that you have got to see, and you will not, I promise you, if you know nothing about it, you a bit like watching The Shining, I guarantee you will not regret a minute of doing it, and you'll just love it. So if you don't know what it is, go and watch it. But the one that I wanted to talk about more probably was Girl Interrupted, the 1999 film with Winona Ryder, which kind of has some parallels in a sense, in that there's a girl in the middle of it who is played by Winona Ryder, who is having trouble in her kind of growing up in a moneyed household in America. And she accidentally takes some drugs and alcohol, and it looks like an overdose. And so they whisk her into this kind of ward, and on the ward, she meets this character called Lisa, played by
Angelina
Julia.
Jolie.
No, yes, Angelina Jolie. Sorry, yeah, that's right. Now Angelina Jolie plays very much the smart-ass character like Jack Nicholson plays in The Cuckoo's Nest. So it's a bit turned around in a sense, because the character we're focusing on is Susanna, Winona Ryder, because it's her life story. And again, it unfolds in this kind of story where Angelina Jolie is just outrageously behaved, and Winona Ryder's coming into this thinking, good grief, what is this going on here? And it has this similar kind of Cuckoo's Nest feel and age and era about it, set in the 60s again, where all the assistants are dressed in your clinical white, and the place is running very much the same way, and they're treating mental health issues like physical ones, like they used to do there, and so you have starchy nurses that are dealing with it. They start to befriend each other in the process, and they lots of adventures go on the ward. There's other characters in there, and then one day they decide to escape. And a bit like Cuckoo's Nest, when they go out on the boat and they go off and do the fishing thingy, they just decide to escape, and that's when the story turns on its head. It becomes quite moving and also tragic in some ways, before it all pulls it together in the end, and it becomes quite emotional, and all of the characters involved, and it's just a really nicely rounded film. It's based around if you like Cuckoo's Nest, you'll also like Girl Interrupted, so make sure you watch both of them, everyone. And lastly, one that you probably will know as well, called Coma, which was a 1978 Michael Crichton film, based around this. In actual fact, the DVD cover, I just clicked through to IMDb, and the DVD cover just gives the whole story away. Isn't that ridiculous? There's a picture on the front of the DVD cover which essentially just gives the whole story of what's going on, what the mystery is of the film. How ridiculous. Don't look at that, anyone, if you want to watch it. But it's a story about this medical institution, which is an offshoot from a hospital, and we follow the main nurse, played by Genevieve Bejoul. And she's really cute in it, but she's a doctor, and she's trying to unravel what on earth is going on around her. But if you look at that picture, you'll know what's going on around her, and so it becomes a thriller and a chase, and right over wrong, and who's doing what, and institutionalized money and what they're doing, and who the evil characters and are and will right be done, and all the rest of it. It's a really, really good story, but as I say, based on the Michael Crichton novel, and it worked really well. Was I right in assuming you know this?
I do, yes. I haven't seen it in a long time. I haven't lined up because my son's a bit of a fan of Michael Crichton, so I might give it a go fairly soon. I got Communion as well, which is something along the same lines, but I don't know why I lumped them into the same conversation. Communion is not about a hospital.
I don't know that one, but yeah, those are my three picks, and I'll put links in the show notes to them. But if you ignore everything else, then watch Cuckoo's Nest and Girl Interrupted, because I really, really recommend those. Have you seen Girl Interrupted?
I think I have. I remember Whoopi Goldberg in it.
Yes, she is. She plays one of the people that are trying to get everyone on the straight and narrow. Because parts of it are quite funny as well, and her role sometimes is quite funny. She's trying to maintain order and also convince Winona that or Susanna, Winona's character, that she's she that there's a path through life here that she can choose, and it's a really good film. I recommend it. So there you go. Right.
Brilliant.
Okay, that's the theme for this show done. Hospitals, and it's your turn to pick the next one.
Well, Ted, you're going to hate this. Absolutely hate it right to the back net. Because it's the World Cup, why don't we do good old-fashioned soccer? Sorry, football. Football.
Oh, no. Yeah, football. As long as we call it football. There
All
are
you
actually
can do is
quite...
Escape from Victory. There you go. You can have that one.
There are quite a lot of interesting football films out there, which I could easily talk about. So, yeah, I don't hate it too much. Okay, let's get to the main feature. And I've been talking a lot, so let's start with you.
Oh, all right then. That means I'm going to have to bring up my notes because I remember them this week. I did.
Well
and
done.
I have notes on both of them, actually, come to think of it. I forgot I made notes on the other one. I put on a film that I don't actually remember watching. I know I've seen one of the installments of the original trilogy. It's a trilogy of films that was remade some years ago, where they made one outing and stopped. It sounds a bit like Poltergeist, but there were four of those. It's called It's Alive, and this was a fairly low-budget horror movie from director Larry Cohen, not Rob Cohen, Larry Cohen, who was known for Q, The Winged Serpent, and I think actually Phone Booth was one of his as well, if memory serves. God Told Me To, The Ambulance, oddly enough, with Eric Roberts. And he was just a good, solid horror director in the early 80s who put together some fairly violent, interesting films. He did The Return to Salem's Lot as well, right? And I, the Jury, he wrote the screenplay for that. And some of the Maniac Cop films he contributed to, if not all of them. But his name was, I always found his name a reliable horror a person, a talent. So I've always tried to watch every film I could. So I've seen the second one, I think it is, the one with Gareth Graham. So I decided to go back and visit the first one to see how it all began. And it's a film that sees John Ryan play a father whose wife gives birth to a child with a deformity, I guess is the best way to put it, and that the child is a violent psychopath. Not like Chucky, you don't really see the child, you just see people getting brutally murdered by this weird, I don't know, bag of socks or something like that with goo all over it. The makeup effects are limited, but Rob Cohen, damn it, Larry Cohen makes the most of it as he always does. So I was surprised at John Ryan's performance in this because John Ryan didn't go on to too much. He's a reliable character actor who's in lots and lots of things over the years, but he never really had. He's in The Postman Always Rings Twice. Ted, you'll love that.
Oh yeah.
But he was reliable. He popped up in all sorts of things, but he never really had a big breakout role. And I'd actually say that It's Alive is that film. He is really good in this. He's in almost every frame of it. And his performance is so difficult to actually pin down because you don't know what's going through his mind at most points during the film. You think you do, but then he does something else that makes you think you don't. And it's just masterfully putting in the work here. He's absolutely superb in the lead, and I think he needs to really stand up and take a bow because he's not really talked about. You know, you get the big horror stars that broke out during the early 80s and went on to become, you know, something else, like Eric Roberts, for example, or Bruce Campbell or whatever, and became a name for themselves. But John Ryan's not one that's really talked about. Larry Cohen keeps the effects hokey and cheap, but he's such an experienced filmmaker. He really knows how to get like a real grindhouse offering out of it, and putting it into the cinemas where people are going to really really get the most out of it, because it's just a fantastic little film that has scares around most of the corners. But it's not your traditional types of scares, because it's not like Friday the 13th where this thing is just going to jump up and hit you with an axe or something. There's a lot of the film where it actually lulls quite a bit, and it becomes a wee bit frustrating, because there are moments where you find that they're talking more about what to do with the child when they catch it, as opposed to, yeah, we need to go there and try to catch it. You know, they're trying to get the father to sign over, or sign away the ability for them to kill the child and things like that. But the child, they don't even know where the child is, and it could be on the other side of the window looking through. It could be in the basement. It could be 10 blocks away. You know, they're making all these plans, and the root dilemma of the film works really well, thanks to Ryan and Sharon Farrell, who plays the mother, because of their terrific performances. And I'm sure that this whole issue that the film surrounds itself in, do you kill the child or do you not kill the child, and who has the right to say whether or not you should, divides audiences between parents and non-parents, because obviously parents are going to go, no, that's your child, you wouldn't let that happen. Non-parents are like, no, it just killed a policeman, you could just get rid of it, flush it down the toilet or something. And there's all that kind of thing. So it gets people talking, and you find yourself debating whether or not you're on the side of the people in the film who are occupying all of those roles. Everyone in the cast, you realize, has that viewpoint where they all differ with each other. You know, there's they don't have names, actually. Whenever I looked at the cast list at the end, it's like the chairman and the boss and the doctor, and the only people who have names are the lead actors. But all of these characters come through and sort of give you an opinion of what should happen, and you can see that the father is. If you were the father, you might be having a harder time than John Ryan is in it, and it's quite bizarre. The film is a very hard film to watch. There's a lull before the last 20 minutes where I was starting to go, right, this needs to be tighter. We need more fun things happening, or interesting things happening here. But then the climax kicks in, and it goes on for a good bit, and it restores your faith in the film, because it's very entertaining and asks those questions again. Yeah, it's a really good film. I'm not going to say it's absolutely fantastic or a classic or anything like that. It's not. It's far from it. But if you're looking for just a wee thought-provoking horror film that has some grisly kills and some gore, yet it still has a wee bit more body to it than the likes of Halloween or Friday the 13th, then It's Alive is something worth checking out. Have you seen it or ever heard of it?
I've just realised that it's in my collection, which means I must have had the DVD at some point. Does that make sense? Because it's a 1974 film,
Yes.
but it's also available on Apple TV and other streaming services. So I don't think I've seen it, but I think I've got it, and I've probably just never looked at it. So add it to the list.
Well, I don't know. It could be lower on the list unless you really feel you want to watch it. They made a couple of trashy sequels to this, and then it was remade a few years ago. What was it? I'll just click on the link here and tell you. It was 2009. There was a remake, but it failed to really take off. I think they were looking for a new franchise out of it, but
Right.
yeah, I'm gonna mosey back into It's Alive territory and watch the second and the third over the coming weeks to see what they're like.
Okay, cool. Shall I do my first one?
Yeah, go for it.
This is Affection, which is a claustrophobic domestic family thriller come sci-fi body horror. Um, and it's written and directed by B.T. Meza, M-E-Z-A. And it stars Jessica Roth, Joseph Cross, and Liliana Lane. So the film starts with this woman staggering away from. In fact, it starts with this woman laying on the floor next to this car. It's a very big impact starting kind of film and story. And suddenly she gets up and starts running down the road, but she's clearly got a broken ankle. And then just as she's running down the road, another tragedy strikes and she is out of it, wakes up in the next day with no memory. She's convinced her name is Sarah and that she has a son, but the bloke laying next to her in their double bed is called Bruce. And Bruce, she doesn't recognise. He tells her that her name is Ellie, and they have a little girl, a daughter called Alice, and that Ellie or Sarah, whichever you want to call her, has suffered because of this car crash from a traumatic brain injury. So Bruce tells her the story that you're not piecing to get things together from your memory banks here, and you dreamt up this Sarah thing, and you've not had a son. You're my wife, and this is our daughter. And sure enough, the daughter runs into the room saying, "Mummy, mummy," and in the end, she kind of gets convinced. But then, and this is where I need to stop really, because this is real spoiler territory. You start to. This is a film of two halves, because in the first half, it's all about the mystery. We follow the character Sarah or Ellie, and we're with her the whole time. And we the audience don't know anything more about what might be or might not be true, or what's afoot, or what's going on, or what the mystery is going to end up being. Yes, it's fairly far fetched, but I think that in the end, it turns into a bit of a survival film, really, and there's lots of violence in the end, and there's a gory kind of showdown. But Jessica Roth playing Ellie or Sarah, she is actually really good in the lead role. I think that it's fairly low budget apart from that. The little girl, Alice, does well as well. But there's only basically the three characters in it, the three actors in it. And it's a little tight 90-minute thriller. It's a bit, as I say, far-fetched, and it's a bit cliched here and there. But actually, when the reveals start coming along in the second half of the film, it does lose its impetus. I think the first half, when you don't know what's happening and the mystery is holding on, that's where it's got its strength. And as it starts to unfold, it all becomes a bit silly. Well, not silly, but just far-fetched. And that's all I'll say about it, really, because anything else would be a spoiler. It's a really good watch, and I really enjoyed it. It only takes 90 minutes, and it's a bit thought-provoking, if a bit far-fetched. And yet again, don't look at the DVD cover, because that will also give the whole blooming thing away. Why do they do this? Just silly, isn't it?
Well, yeah, or is it something about iconic imagery that they need to throw in there?
Anyway, that's available on, where can you see that? Where did I see that? I think it was on, oh, yeah, it's on, I think I saw it on Apple, but it's on various streaming platforms in the UK. It's out there quite widely, yeah. Affection. Very nice.
Yeah. That was a good-looking horror film. I liked the trailer a lot. It seemed like one of those horror films that was going to, stick with you.
Indeed.
Yeah. One thing that doesn't stick with you after a fairly damn good trailer is Seven Snipers.
Oh dear.
talked about the trailer a couple of weeks ago in one of the previous shows, in the coming soon section, and it really did look like something pretty darn good. I love sniper thrillers as it is. I'm actually a fan of the whole sniper series, all
Yeah.
12 films, I think there is, maybe 11, 12, I don't know. And Enemy at the Gates and all those sorts of things. I think sniper films are really, really good entertainment. And Seven Snipers sounded like a dream road. It's fairly slow moving, which is really sad. The trailer makes it look really action packed and exciting. I'll not talk about the trailer again. The characters are fairly unremarkable, and it's one of those annoying films that there is a bit of a twist, but the twist is in the last minute or two, and you're not everything falls into place until then. So if you're with one of those people who likes to go, I was watching that episode of the IT Crowd where he's sitting there watching a DVD with Matt Berry, the second time he's been mentioned, and he's throwing all these stupid observations like, they're all robots, oh, they've all traveled through time, and everything about this film. It'll really wind you up because there's an awful lot, because you're constantly thinking, is this a goodie? Is it a baddie? Why is this person so deranged? Why is this happening? And ultimately, it just boils down to, I wouldn't even say it's a spoiler because it's in the trailer, but there's you can switch off for a minute just to like say this, but there's 7 snipers and they gradually get taken out one by one, and that's the entertainment of the film. And most of it is kind of, oh, shock, oh, didn't expect to see that happen. And it almost happens as soon as there's something needing to happen, because it is slowed down to such a speed that you're like, right, something needs to happen. Oh, there, someone's just gone. So that was the most annoying thing about it. It's quite well shot. The special effects are a bit ropey. The cast is pretty darn good. I like your lead woman in there. I've forgotten her name off the top of my head. Radha Mitchell. She's really good. She's just a quality actress, and the supporting cast is all fairly good. Tim Roth is just breezing through this. It's no challenge to him whatsoever, and I think he's just happy to, I don't know, have a nice day out in the sunshine, and maybe was it it's Australia that I think it's shot in, so he might have got a wee holiday down to Queensland or something like that to.
No, to be fair, we know that Tim Roth does lend his name and his acting to all sorts of little indie projects, doesn't he? He pops up all over the place, and he is very supportive of people making not Hollywood blockbusters, isn't he?
He is, but he does also show up in some tat that are just paycheck movies. I have noticed him in a few, and there's one I can think of off the top of my head, but I can't remember what it's called. But I think it was it Classified with your man Aaron Eckhart. But Tim Roth was there for absolutely no reason other than his name. That's what, it was Classified. But yeah, it was ultimately pretty disappointing. I can't say I would ever return to it again. Some of the logistics are actually kind of annoying as well, and I noted that as well. It's a bit like a horror movie where the villain was there and then suddenly appears behind people, and you're like, how did they get around there? And these are snipers, so they're supposed to be really stealthy, and they look for blades of grass moving in weird ways and stuff like that. And they look to see the wind and which way it's moving. The grass should be moving in a different way, so they can tell where you are from the tiniest little detail. But yet you've managed to turn up behind people and shoot at them. And it's just like, oh, right, okay. So you're just taking movie making for granted, and people can't work out which way sounds are coming from and things because the audience doesn't know which way it's coming from. There is a solid idea at the heart of this film, and it just wasn't particularly well realized. Unfortunately, I have to say, just don't bother with it.
What a shame.
You'll do much better with Sniper or Enemy at the Gates.
I'm disappointed because I like Tim Roth, and I like you like this whole sniper thing as well. So I was looking forward to that. I'll strike it from my list. My
Well,
list.
maybe I'm being overly negative about it, but it's just I didn't put it in flop of the fortnight, which is important to point out.
Yeah.
It's just not something that you should really give your time to. If you
Mm.
were forced to sit down and nailed to a chair by George C. Scott because you didn't put something in the file, and made to watch this, then yeah, you'll probably survive it quite well. But
Okay.
there's better things to watch.
Like Alpha. We're back into body horror now because Julia Ducournau's Alpha. Julia Ducournau, I have no idea how to pronounce her name, sorry. She was the one that was responsible for Raw and more popularly Titan, which I think you or Alan watched at one point. But Raw, I watched Raw, and it was great. I really enjoyed Raw. I spoke about it on the show. But this is a newer film called Alpha, and it's a real slow burning psychological thriller about grief, prejudice, and unresolved trauma in a family. The backdrop is that there's this pandemic going on, which we've seen a million times now. But it eventually it turns people who get infected with it into marble-like creatures, and actually the special effects on that are, I know it's probably quite simple to do these days, but these people their skin turns into like marble, and it looked really impressive when you see this happening. So we follow the story of I mentioned this was a French film, and 13-year-old Alpha. So she's the title character of the film, played by Melissa Boros. She wakes up one day after she's been to a party with a tattoo on her arm. Now. Goal Shifty, which is really why I was watching it, I suppose. Goal Shifty can do no wrong. She plays Alpha's mum, and she's also a doctor. And she panics because she thinks that the needle that was used to do this tattoo on her daughter's arm at this party she was at could well have been infected, and she might actually have got the kind of marble thingy that's going around. So we then follow the two of them. Goal Shifty's character, the mum, is struggling because she works in the hospital, and the hospital is eventually turning people away because so many people are getting this. But in the middle of all this, she's also really worried about her daughter, who at the moment is not showing any signs and symptoms of having got it, and the needle that did the tattoo might well be absolutely clean and no problem at all. So that's the kind of baseline of the story, and we follow the life of Mum Goal Shifty because it depicts her as the doctor in this hospital who is completely toothless tiger because there's no cure for this thing, and she's just going around trying to encourage people to, the staff at the hospital to just look after people. And in the midst of all this, there are some other body horror things going on with people that get it, which I won't spoil for you. But there are, in the middle of all this also, the ex-husband, who is a heroin addict called Armin. He's played by Tahar Rahim. He turns up at the house and he's addicted to heroin. Alpha doesn't know who on earth he is, and he just turns up because Mum has told him that he can come and hang out there until he kicks his heroin addiction. And so there's all that going on as well. It's a multi-layered film with all sorts of things going on at the same time, including the body horror that I said earlier. The body horror is not done in terms of shock tactics, but it's more to do with a kind of puzzle of what's happening generally. Really interesting film. It is in French, so you need some subtitles, and if you're not French, that is. And the last thing I would say is that apart from the really, really good three performances, well, Ghost Shifty always performs well, but also the uncle, he was really good, and the little girl, who is not actually that little. She looks more like she was about 20 than 13, frankly. But the last thing I would say really is that there's a lovely score, and I don't know what the score is, but it's throughout the whole film there's this kind of melancholic solo piano thing going on, and it's really, really nice, and it fits what's going on in the film beautifully. Alpha 2025, and again that has made it to some streaming services in the UK. And if you liked Raw, or you know Raw, or you heard me banging on about Raw as a body horror from this director, you'll also like this. So recommended.
Yeah, that sounds good. I've stuck it on my list.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Cool. But Gold Shifty's lovely. Sorry, I should say that.
You dirty old man.
Let's get to coming soon, and we have got a bunch of interesting things. Oh yeah, we decided to do it turnabout this time, just for an experiment, see if it works. So who's going? Oh, me first, right. My first coming soon is Silo season 3. We all liked Silo, the first series. Some of us dropped out in the second series, and I'm not quite so sure about the third series. That going from the trailer, it looks as though it's kind of more of the same, really. For those that watched series 2, it's clear from the trailer of series 3 that Julianne survived and came back inside the silo. But it also shows a broadening, I think, of the landscape of what's going on, and we're not just stuck in the one silo, I think, in series 3. So hopefully there'll be enough ideas for it to be moved forward, and I shall certainly give it a go. When you've watched 2 series, you've got to watch the third one, haven't you? What did you think of this?
More of the same. I still have only got past, or watched the first 2, maybe 3 episodes of this. It's just never really gripped me and pulled me in. I know both you and Alan went on about it as being decent as opposed to marvelous.
Yes.
So I don't know. It's 3 seasons now is a bit more than I want to bite off.
Fair enough. Okay.
Yep. Next up is a little film called The Wait, and it's as in not as in standing in a queue. It's as in the wait, as in something heavy. This looks fantastic, and I've got a funny feeling this is going to be my film of the year. It's about desperate to save what is left of his family during the height of the Great Depression. A battle-scarred veteran is hired to help smuggle a fortune in gold across 100 miles of impenetrable wilderness. It stars Russell Crowe and Ethan Hawke with Julia Jones. There was someone else whose name that really Austin Armelio, and this reminded me of Friedkin's The Sorcerer without the trucks.
Oh right, yeah.
And it's even got a rope bridge in it, which looks really exciting.
Oh yeah.
It looks tense, action-packed, and early reviews are saying that it is really just 2 hours of tension throughout, sweaty tension, and I can't wait for that. That's what I want, is Wages of Fear, but with a backpack or whatever full of gold. It's arriving on September the 18th, and that couldn't come quick enough.
Right, yeah.
It's directed by Padraig McKinley, actually, as well. I think that's worth mentioning. I don't know where he's from. Padraig's obviously an Irish name, but he's from San Francisco, California. So if I've butchered his name, I do apologize.
I do agree with you. I think it looks really good, and I too will be looking forward to watching it. The first thing I thought of though was the Waltons. The
Oh,
Waltons go on a thrill ride, only be,
yeah.
only really because of the era and the trucks. The vehicles they were driving were just straight out of Walton's Mountain. But yes, absolutely, it looks really well made and well acted, and yeah, I'm with you. I agree with you. I think that might be very, very good indeed. But you'll have to wait because it's September. It's just to the cinema then. So, well, you can go to the cinema if you like.
Hmm.
Right, The Last House is next, which is a 2026 thriller. A family of four are suddenly sealed inside their home with no way out and must work together to survive against both the dwindling resources and the mysterious looming threat that is keeping them trapped. And you'll see from the thriller that where they discover halfway through the trailer that they're not alone and that everyone in the whole world has been trapped inside their house. Again, it's a far-fetched kind of mystery drama thriller, or even maybe horror. There are suggestions in the trailer that it could be a horror thing as well at the end of it. But yeah, survival story ideas, they need to be good to be taken seriously. And I'm not sure. I watched the trailer of this and I thought, yeah, it could be good, but it also could be crap. What did you reckon?
I don't know. I was kind of intrigued by everything that's going on, and I'll absolutely watch it. I've just got a funny feeling that it is going to be one of those twists that everything builds up to, and you're just a wee bit disappointed whenever it comes along. You rarely get something that is just really exceptional now. But Wagner Moura is brilliant, and Greta Lee as well. So it's got a fantastic cast. Yes, I would be all over this, and it's Netflix on August the 7th, so not long to wait.
Yeah, cool. Look forward to that.
Aye. It's been a while since I've done a shark movie, so I figured I'd feature a shark movie, because Netflix had such a big thing with whatever it was called, Thrash.
Thrash, yeah.
Yes, and Asylum are now making a knockoff of that, which is called I don't know, cheap thrash or something. I can't remember. But The Devil's Mouth is Amazon's take on shark movies. And it's arriving on July 29th. And it's about a group of college friends out in Thailand for an adventure. And it turns deadly when they become trapped in a submerged cave with a dangerous predator. Oxygen is running low. Past conflicts emerge, which means drama between kids, and a desperate fight for survival. Now, I watched this trailer with my wife, and she went, "We've seen that." And I said, "No, believe it or not, we haven't." She went, "No, we have." And I started thinking that, yeah, it's the same premise as, I can't remember if it's 47 meters down 2 or Blackwater Creek, but they're stuck in a cave with the angry predators swimming around. Yeah. So I've got a funny feeling it's that, but with teenagers.
That's
In bikinis, but teenagers.
Well, yeah, and that bit's quite nice, but it just got tedious, I think. And also, it's definitely one of these films that you can start watching halfway through, because I guarantee, mark my words, I guarantee you that the first half of the film will be them getting there and them going to the beach and mucking about with each other and us all getting to know the characters and blah blah blah. But actually, just watch it halfway through, because that will. Anyway, even then, it sounds like it could be quite annoying with those female teens all screaming at every 5 minutes, and zero dear.
Yeah, there's a bit worrying. I clicked on the IMDb there, and it's the only person who's credited as a character's name is Harrison Luna as Ryan, the handsome diver. So I've got a funny feeling the girls are going to be going ooh all over him, and maybe he gets into a bit of drama with one of them, and they're all raging. Oh God, I'm getting caught up in it. Ooh.
Yeah, teenagers. Right, my last one is Colony, which is we're back in
Mm.
zombie territory here and Korean zombie territory. It's about um, a biotech conference where the world is spiraling into catastrophe because there's a mutating virus, blah, 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 the same thing. The outbreak spreads and the infected begin to transform. Authorities seal off the facility they're in, blah, blah, blah. It has been directed by Yon Sang-ho, who was the man behind Train to Busan, which we all really thought was very good. I do think that I know I've kind of wafted my way through that and said, yeah, more of the same. But I do think that the Koreans do this zombie thing quite well compared to others. And they also appear to kind of throw a fair bit of money at it. And they quite like what they're doing. I mean, I found myself laughing out loud. I don't think I was supposed to do that, but I did. It all feels a bit comic to me, but I just think that they make the actions of the zombies quite entertaining and quite engaging, and it just draws me in. So I think that I'll definitely watch this. It's coming to the cinema in August, so who knows when it might come to streaming. But I think that I'm definitely going to give this a go. Will you?
Absolutely, yes. I have heard word that this is really very, very good and worth checking out. So I'll be all over this. Thank you very much. I have meant to feature this trailer for the last couple of shows, but just forgot.
Ah.
Yeah, so it's upon us fairly soon. So hurrah!
Mm-hmm.
Well, I know that folks who got excited by the idea of the Devil's Mouth are probably going, oh, Joe, July 29th is a long way away. Well, thankfully, there is more shark shit before then, and it's called The Bay, and it's being released, I believe, in cinemas on July 17th, so over a week before that other one that I've forgotten the name of already. Devil's Mouth. Devil's Mouth,
Yes.
wasn't it?
Yeah.
Okay. And this one stars Francesca Eastwood, who is very well known as juror number 2 star. So she is a relation to Mr. Clint Eastwood. I don't know if he's her daughter or granddaughter or what, but she stars in this, and it's about two best friends, Emma and Lanny, attending the destination or a destination wedding in Thailand again, and finding themselves trapped on a sinking tour boat in the heart of Tiger Shark Sanctuary. So there you go. There's the big plot difference. Just for those of you who this has tiger sharks in it, whereas the Devil's Mouth has bull sharks in it. So significantly different there. So you don't have to worry too much about repetition. This looks. I don't know what to say, whether it's better or worse than the other one, but I've got a funny feeling this is going to be worse. Yes. Yeah. Anything that's stuck you about this?
There's not much in it. So I'm not sure which one will be absolutely the worst, but yeah, this looks really poor. And even the footage in the trailer where you see the sharks looks just dreadful and badly done. But again, it's like teenagers squealing, and do you think they're going to stop doing these shark films at some point? I suppose all the time people are going and watch them, they probably will carry on, won't they?
I think they're just running out of villains in movies, because it used to be, like, if you go back to the 1980s, they were able to select a country like, I don't know, Iran or Russia or somewhere like that, and be able to have the villains come from there, and that would be it. Now they're going, right, okay, well, we can't always do zombies, we can't always do vampires or aliens. We need something else that's a wee bit more relatable. And people are going on holiday, so let's have giant killer starfish or sand dollars from hell. They're having to find things to do this. And sharks are just obvious. And it must be really easy to animate a shark.
Easy to animate a shark badly, going by this.
I don't know. Some of them do look quite good. The one I mentioned earlier by Asylum, Shark Thrash or something it's called. The animation in that doesn't look too bad. Believe me, if you watch the trailer, you will see probably all of the animation from the entire film in the trailer because the money shots always go there.
That's one of the things that was interesting about Thrash is that they didn't try to show you too much of the sharks. All the attempts at attention were about the sharks kind of. You just saw the fin on the surface. There was one big shot at the end where you did see it, but
Yeah.
apart from that, in Thrash, it was kind of they just approached it differently, and I think it benefited because of that.
It's also more expensive to shoot the shark than to not shoot the shark. So that's always been the way, and Jaws did it so well, and it's actually been. I think I actually blame Jaws for this because Jaws did it so effectively well that they created so much tension by not showing the shark. So they've gone, well, we don't need special effects because we don't have to show the shark very often, and that works.
Yeah. Yep. Indeed. Anyway, there you go. Links in the show notes to all of the coming soons. And we're now heading towards the final curtain before we wrap things up here.
Yep. We've lost the director of Cheers. He made 236 episodes of the TV show Cheers. Wow. He also did Will and Grace, which was another much loved TV show. Taxi, one of my particular favorites. Frasier, he did 32 episodes of that, which isn't much in the running of it. But yeah, it's an absolute legend that is James Burrows. Obviously, you're aware of James Burrows having worked your way through Cheers too.
Yeah, absolutely. And when I saw this announced this week, I didn't put the two together, and then I suddenly realised that yes, of course, at the end of every episode of Cheers, there's this name, and I'd never really set eyes on him before. I put a picture in the recording notes of him stood by Diane and Sam in the bar at Cheers. And I thought at first it was Frasier because when Frasier had a beard, he looks very much like about James Burrows' hair. Maybe James Burrow got Frasier to look like he did or something. But yeah, very sad. And all of those shows that you've mentioned, Will and Grace, I kind of dipped in and out of. I wasn't a huge fan, but Taxi, definitely, I've seen all of those, and Frasier, Cheers, and some of Friends, I think he did as well. Yeah, more than 1,000 sitcom episodes is the claim. Yeah, so yeah, and he looks such a nice chap.
Yes, he does absolutely. And up until last year, he directed a sitcom called Mid-Century Modern, which I'm not aware of, with Matt Boomer and Nathan Lane. That sounds quite good. I like those two. And 4 episodes of the newer version of Frasier that Paramount Plus put out, I think last year or the year before, wasn't it? Yeah.
Oh, I think he must have done the whole of Will and Grace, I think, because he's got 246 episodes of that notched up. So, yeah, that must have been total start to finish, I think.
Incredible. Imagine that. And you watched Two Broke Girls as well. He did that, didn't you?
I did, yeah. I did dip into that. And I watched a few of them for sure. But he only did 4 episodes of that as director, so not a huge amount. But the Millers, I don't remember the Millers. Maybe that was just an American thing. Gary Unmarried, that was 36 episodes.
15 episodes of Friends he did. Yeah.
Oh yeah, 15 of Friends. Caroline in the City, 21. I don't know that. I'm guessing that a lot of these were just put out in America, I suppose, but 75 episodes of Taxi. So it wasn't all of the Taxi then, by the looks of it.
You know, whenever you look at something like this, you imagine the amount of films or the amount of TV shows and pilots and things like that he's done over the years that didn't even get recognition. You know, scrolling down here, I noticed In the Loop, which was the movie based off of In the what was the Malcolm Tucker TV show, the British sitcom about British Parliament, with Malcolm Tucker, the foul-mouthed communications manager of Downing Street. In the Loop was the movie they made of it. It was Armando Amanucci who did it, but he directed must be an Americanized version or a pilot for an Americanized version of In the Loop. In the Thick of It, that's what it was called. And that's listed there, but it's got 24 reviews, and that must have been the test audience that saw it.
Yeah.
But in between that, there was a whole. I imagine there's tons of pilots and things that he did that never got picked up. Mm-hmm. And there's Bruce Campbell talks about some of the pilots that he did that'll never see light of day. And there was one that he was talking about that I think he was on a podcast, or someone was on a podcast talking about doing a Bruce Campbell show they were filming the 4th episode. And Bruce Campbell turned around and went, this isn't going anywhere, because he'd done that many of them. He knew when they weren't going anywhere and when they were going somewhere. Right. So in the archives of the big movie studios and things, there must be tons of pilots that didn't even get any recognition outside of it and just cancelled straight away without even a test audience.
The sort of thing you hear about in the old days of British sitcoms, where someone wiped the tape. They had this episode, the first 3 episodes of Dad's Army. They wiped the tapes and they found it in someone's attic or something, and we got them back. Stories like that, yeah.
Yeah. I was watching an extra on the DVD, and they found the uncut version of a particular horror film in the attic. It was a British horror film as well, if memory serves, in the attic of a dentist's office in Portugal.
Oh, wow.
How did that happen? How did it get there? Was the dentist a collector over the years or what? And they were like, no, we found this one down the back of a salt mine. Like Event Horizon, it was found in the uncut version of it, which was found damaged in a salt mine in Transylvania.
Mm.
What? Because salt mines are used to store film to preserve them. But
right.
Yeah, it's just like, wow. But the box was a wee bit open or damaged or something, so the air got in and destroyed it, so they can't use it.
Oh, look,
sorry.
He's directed a TV movie called Butterflies, and the characters are clearly the same as the sitcom from the UK, because Rhee's in there, Ben is in there, Russell and Leonard and Adam. So all the character names are the same. 1979 TV movie. It's a failed sitcom in America by the sounds of this. But in the UK, everyone was all over that. So that looks like that's yet another one that he's had a go at, or the team has had a go at, and it's just not happened for Americans.
Well, check the Internet Archive. You might be able to find it. It might be on there. There might be a VHS rip of it that someone's uploaded.
Yeah,
stranger things have happened.
Yeah. Anyway, yeah, that's very sad, and I was pleased to actually know someone who was in the Final Curtain for a change. But then there was 2.
There are. We lost one of the greatest British comedians for over the years. Penelope Keith has passed away, who was best known for To the Manor Born and The Good Life. She was made a dame actually as well. But she was a highly thought of actress who I remember her from Morecambe and Wise. Actually, she popped up on that at one stage. But she has a phenomenal list of credits over the years, and dating right back to the early 1960s. But I noticed Carry On Doctor's in there, which is one you had earlier on in the show.
Yeah.
But yeah, to be honest, I can't think of her in too many other things. Because it was more of that sort of, she was a very family side of comedy, variety shows and clean cut humor that are just so nice, as Vivian would rip apart the Good Life's opening.
She was
And she worked on that.
she was most famous really for The Good Life, and also To the Manor Born, which was a really I didn't like that show at all. That was the show for my parents, and they really liked it. Um, but going back to the Carry On Doctor thing, and in The Good Life, she was priceless. The character she played, she put it all on or if it was really what she was like, the character she played in The Good Life she was the butt of so many jokes, and she played so much of it straight and flat, and they had great fun just basically taking the piss out of the character, and that all worked really well, and she did a marvelous job, I think, and nobody liked her in it because she was the stuffy kind of one that wouldn't change and did things her own way, and everyone else was much more hippie-like, even her husband. But that was The Good Life. But what I was going to say was, going back to that Carry On Doctor, there is a little story behind that, because she was in one scene in Carry On Doctor, but it was eventually apparently cut from the film.
Oh,
So it didn't actually make it. I'm not quite sure. There seems to be. She was also offered the role in a role in Carry On England, but eventually it was played by Joan Sims because Penelope Keith actually turned it down because she was doing something else, I guess. But yeah, there is a little bit of history in there to do with the whole Carry On thing, and it turns out that she didn't end up in any of the Carry On films, but she'll be in that reel in an attic somewhere, probably.
yeah. Cut out and they'll find her in a salt mine.
Yeah.
I watched a little news piece about her as well, and it mentioned a bit of trivia about The Good Life, where she wasn't actually, or she only had one line in the first episode of it, and
Oh, right.
of that one line, they built the whole character around it
Ah,
because of the way she delivered it,
okay.
and she basically carved out her career from that. And I was just having a look. To the Manor Born had a 25-year later final episode in 2007. So because it ran from 1979 to 2007 according to IMDb. It's like what? But there was only 30 episodes of The Good Life, which I find kind of surprising.
Yeah,
I suppose that's
yeah.
what, 5 seasons, 4 seasons.
Four
Six, four,
seasons,
six,
and
six,
there's
four
a
seasons.
couple of specials. I've got
Uh,
well, my dad's got the whole DVD set, and yeah, it's 4 seasons with some specials. But The Good Life was different because it was just so well written, and of course there was Felicity Kendall to look at, who was just so cute and hot. And the four characters in The Good Life just worked brilliantly well. It was so well written. Yeah.
wow, is Felicity Kendall still going? Yeah, Small Town Scandal. She
Yeah.
made this
Yeah.
year. I think she was in something I watched quite recently as well. I was a bit shocked to see her.
Hmm.
I can't remember what it was. It was an episode of a
Mm.
TV show. Was it Ludwig? I think she was in an episode of Ludwig.
Oh,
She
was she?
was.
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay.
And she's got
Cool.
one thing coming up, Franken Percy. But yes, yeah, we lost Penelope Keith at the age of 86.
Hmm.
Another name that we lost that I didn't see anything about was Michael Byrne, who played Vogel in Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade. The list of his films are phenomenal. He generally played German officers, unfortunately, but I believe he was born in Britain, wasn't he? He was Hampstead, London, right? But he was very good at playing the German because he could do accents beautifully. He was in The Eagle has landed, A Bridge Too Far, Force 10 from Navarone, where he gets beheaded, if memory serves, garroted, his head cut off. Last Crusade, Tomorrow Never Dies, The Sum of All Fears, Braveheart, and wow, Gangs of New York. Looking down his list of credits, it's phenomenal the amount of films that he was in. And I've been racking my brains all day because I can remember at the end of a movie, he goes out and sits on a bench with the star of the film, and I kept thinking it was Mission Impossible, but it wasn't. It might have been Sum of All Fears, but he sits and has a conversation after all the events of the film and it just ends, with the two of them sitting on the bench having a discussion. It was really quite nice. It's almost like a fitting end to his career. But he went on to have such a much longer career. I remember in 1989, whenever he was making Last Crusade, I thought he seemed quite old looking in that, and I wondered how he was a formidable foe for Indiana Jones to be doing battle with on top of the tank in Iskandrin or Alexandria, wherever they happen to be. Whereas in the previous two films, he'd been fighting against Pat Roche as Muscle Man. But yeah, he was going up against this slight Nazi, called Vogel. It's a wonderful actor, absolutely terrific. I always loved seeing him whenever he turned up in something. Are you aware of him well?
I didn't recognise his face, but now I started digging around. The Eagle Has Landed. I thought, well, who's he playing in The Eagle Has Landed? And so I've dug out a couple of pictures, and he's played this character called Karl Hopper. And sure enough, I remember the scenes now. Looking at there's 4 pictures of him in role there, and I can see and remember very clearly who he was and what he was playing. But you're right; it's a staggering list of credits, just incredible. He's clearly one of these people that has never been out of work. And what's the first one in the list? 1962.
Yeah.
Right the way through to. Is there anything in the bag now? Yeah, there's one upcoming. Did you say that?
No, I didn't. No.
So 2003 was the last thing that he's actually done. But what a career, eh? Blimey.
Absolutely, yeah. He was in Vampires back in 1974. I think I've got that.
1974.
I have to throw that on.
Isn't that what we spoke about earlier?
Yeah. No, it's not. It's one of the late sort of 60s, early 70s erotic vampire movies.
Oh, right.
I'll send you the copy once I'm done with it.
He does kind of look like a German, though. You can see why he probably focused in on that. I don't know if has he got blue eyes? But
I think he does, yeah.
What's that? Anyway, yeah. I certainly would never have been able to tell you his name from his picture, but now I'm digging around. I can see who he was. Yeah, very handsome chap, in fact, wasn't
he? Yeah, absolutely every reason to go back and watch Braveheart again. I have to watch that. It's been a while.
Mm-hmm. Right, okay, I think we're done here. Porthub UK is where you can find all the stuff that you need to, and if not, it's at tedsalmon.com. Links there to all our MeWe groups, all our audio podcasts, garethmiles.com for loads more, including that review we were talking about earlier. Projectorroom.co.uk is our website, where you can find links to all of this as well. And that's about it, really. We hope that you'll join us in the MeWe group. Do keep reviewing your films and TV shows, and we'll bring highlights of that to shows going forward. And we'll be back in 2 weeks' time, and we hope that you'll join us again in the Projector Room.